Shabbat Shalom. I'm Robert Barr, and this is Zachary Goldman, and we are delighted that you're sharing this Shabbat service with us. We're going to begin with a reading, and then in a moment I'm going to explain who Zachary is and why he's sharing this Shabbat service with you and with me, and then we'll have a conversation. So Zachary, if you'll begin.
The days flow into one another without interruption. Time races on. The Sabbath is our means to divert time, a stepping off point, pausing with friends and loved ones to observe, then rejoice in the wonder-filled coincidence of living. There can be a sense of pleasure in every given breath, blessed with tastes to savor and warmth to give and to receive, bestowed with gifts of sight and sound. We are obliged to cherish and revel in each smile, in every musical note.
The Sabbath also awakens us to the silence between notes. It speaks of contemplation, of quiet delight of literature, of unhurried walks, of rare conversation. The Sabbath can be our interlude, our ritual pause in this lively current, our signal to step more lightly, to appreciate more profoundly, to dive more deeply into the questions that life is asking. So I said, I'm Robert Barr and Zachary Goldman, and we're delighted you're here sharing this Shabbat service with us. For those of you who've joined us before, you know that ourjewishcommunity.org is an initiative of Congregation Beth Adam. Congregation Beth Adam has a 36-year-old history. We're going to be celebrating our 36th anniversary in the coming congregational year. And we're based here in Greater Cincinnati. And also in Greater Cincinnati is the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, a very long name for the seminary that trains rabbis. It's one of the seminaries. It's, I think, the oldest seminary in the Western Hemisphere. And primarily it trains rabbis to serve Reform pulpits. Congregation Beth Adam has had interns from the Hebrew Union College for really many years. Before Rabbi Baum, if you remember Rabbi Baum, those of you who were here with us, she was here for a period of time, but she began as a student, and before her there were 10 students. After her there have been students. Aya, some of you know Aya Pillsbury, who's joined us. Zachary is a student at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute as well. We're going to be talking to him about that. And he also is an intern here at Congregation Beth Adam. And he is here usually on Sunday mornings and actually on Wednesdays helping with our Bar Bat Mitzvah program. So that's why Zachary's joining me today for this service. And we're going to talk more with him about his experiences at the college and his experiences here. As you know, Congregation Beth Adam and then ourjewishcommunity.org is an expression of contemporary Jewish thought. We bring together modern ideas, science, contemporary understandings of God, understandings of how we give expression to these ideas in new liturgy. That's what we've been doing here at Congregation Beth Adam. And through technology, we've been able to broaden that. Our voice is reaching more people, and thus we form community, and we can participate online. This service is actually pre-recorded due to a couple of different things in my life. I'm going to be out of town a little bit longer than I expected, have some things that I needed to do, and Zachary and I had planned to do a service together, so this was a great opportunity to pre-record it. And if I can, like I've done before, some of you know I've been online right at 6 o'clock, right with you, chatting in and listening to the service. So this is a pre-recorded service that we're going to be playing on a Friday night at Shabbat at 6 o'clock. And I know many of you enjoy that community that's created online, and many of us have to watch it at other times. So whenever you participate in ourjewishcommunity.org, whether you do it at 6 o'clock on a Friday night or Tuesday night at 2 in the morning, we are delighted that we can be a Jewish community together, changing the voice, changing the face of the Jewish world together. So we're going to continue with a candle reading. The candles of Shabbat stand before us, waiting to meet the flame, longing to share their warmth, ready to shed their light. Like those who came before us, like all people, we find comfort in fear and flame, endless swirl of fascination, mystery and awe. Like those who came before us, like all people, we are graced with the desire and the will to understand. So we continue our ancestors' search for answers, pushing away the darkness of ignorance. The flames they saw as magic and beyond comprehension became flames of knowledge and hope. But still we look with wonder, inspired by their beauty and their power. We embrace the flames of Shabbat. We embrace the light, our vessel of mystery and understanding. As we light our Shabbat candles, we celebrate our journey, our quest, our moments of peace.
May the light of our people shine. May the light of Shabbat cast its warmth in our homes. May these candles burn with respect for all who push beyond the bonds of ignorance, for all who seek justice, and for all who build community. May these candles burn with memory of all who came before us. May we draw on the many ways our people have given voice to their ideas and values. May we add our own insight to their glow. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of Shabbat.
Hopefully the matches will work. I gave you a good package. Oh, wow, see? In the past, there have been challenges with some of our matches. We buy the premium brand, but it all doesn't work.
Set.
Good. So as I said, Robert Barr, Zachary Goldman. Zachary is a second-year student at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. Let me just contextualize this a little bit more. Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion has 4 campuses. A campus in Jerusalem, a campus in New York, a campus in LA, and a campus in Cincinnati, which is the oldest campus. It's the original campus where students trained. Students, it's a 5-year program to become a rabbi. And the first year, all the students, whether they study in New York, Cincinnati, or LA, go to Israel. So Zachary was in Israel for a year,
Yes,
correct?
sir, that's correct.
And then is now in Cincinnati for his first year in Cincinnati, but his second year at the college.
Right.
And just you went to the university undergraduate. Where'd you go?
Right, I went to the University of Texas in Austin and graduated there in 2014. About 12 days later, like you said, I was in Jerusalem for the year, so it was a really wonderful experience.
So a couple of things. So Zachary's now in Cincinnati, where he loves the winters. He told me he comes in, he's just wearing a T-shirt. He's going, it's so balmy here. I love the weather, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm Texas born and raised, so it's my very first summer, or very first winter. And yeah, it's just kind of shocking.
So that's been funny. And the kids in the Bar Bat Mitzvah program think it's pretty funny. They've never seen snow before, real snow, and cold weather, and you come in bundled up in that nook of the north. So when did you decide you wanted to be a rabbi?
Sure. So it was always a possibility for me. When I first conceptualized what am I going to do with a career, it was always an idea. And then my senior year of high school, I took a trip, the March of the Living trip. So it was a week in Poland and a week in Israel. And it just really transformative experience for me. And I knew, this is how I will build meaning in my life.
Wow. Right. So the March of the Living Tree, that's a national program. If you don't know about it, high school, it's available to high school kids, a lot of kids in Cincinnati. So that's what really got you jazzed.
It was, am I going to be a rabbi? Do I want to go to law school? Do I want to get an MBA? And that trip kind of solidified that this is what's meaningful in your life. Wow. The money and everything, it can come elsewhere, but this is what you really love.
That's great. And then you went to, University of Texas
in Austin.
And studied?
I did Jewish studies and business there.
Wow, that's a good combination.
It was an interesting. Yeah.
That's great. And then you applied to the college, got into the college, obviously, and you just got on so 12 days after graduation, you jumped on a plane.
Yeah.
Had you been to, you'd been to Israel before?
I've been to Israel just those 6 days for the March of the Living. It was a big culture shock for me.
What was the biggest culture shock when you went to Israel? To move there, to live there.
To move there, yeah. So it's just very different. The difference of being on a tour bus, or the difference of, going to like these kind of, I don't want to call them trips. We'll call them trips.
Right.
To just okay, you show up and you get your cell phone, and then you go to your apartment, and everyone is speaking Hebrew between the guy who comes to fix the air conditioning versus the guy you're buying the milk from down the street. So
right.
it was very Hebrew was a big awakening for me.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. There was a lot.
Right.
Very different culture.
So you had an apartment in Jerusalem. The campus is in Jerusalem.
Yes. So I was in Rehavia, and I lived with one of my best friends from college. He was doing another program, and he just got accepted to the rabbinical school in HUC JAR.
Right. So how in Rockaby is that's a fairly short walk to HUC?
It's about 20 minutes. So we split the way. So he was not an HUC student, and so he was 20 minutes to his program. I was 20 minutes to my program. I really enjoyed the walk in the morning. It was kind of like walk through Jerusalem stone on the way to school every morning.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I remember getting to Israel the first time. Did you do one of the programs too during the summer? They have an archaeology program. I don't know if they still have that.
Right. So the first few months in Israel, during the summer you do Ulpan, which is like an intensive 6 hours of just Hebrew study during the summer, and it was supplemented with like a biblical archaeology, I guess is the best way to define the class. But yeah.
So we did actually. We actually, when I arrived there, we actually went up to Tel Dan, which is in the north. Tel Dan. Tel means hill, like Tel Aviv, hill of spring. Right. Tel Dan. Dan was the most northern city and mentioned in the Bible, and there was an archaeological site that Hebrew Union was digging, and I worked on that. And then we went to Ulpan, which is a unique way to teach Hebrew. It is this immersion. So it is. I still remember when our toilet leaked. I do remember, and the plumber came, and my Hebrew it wasn't great. And he was Russian, and I'm American, and our only common language was Hebrew, and even if my Hebrew was a little bit better, the fact is you don't study plumbing words when you're in rabbinical school. So I was trying to explain that the kisei, the chair, was leaking. That was the only way I didn't know what the word. So it was pretty funny. It was great. So you went to Israel. You did your work in Israel. You spent a year there. Got back on a plane. Flew back to Texas.
I was back in Texas for about a week, and then I went straight to work for BBYO this summer.
BBYO
is the B'nai B'rith Youth Organization. It is one of the largest youth-led organizations in the world, but it serves the Jewish community in many cities in America and around the world.
Cool.
It's wonderful. So that's actually I did the Martin Living program through BBYO, and they really that organization really helped form my Jewish identity.
Wow, that's great. That's wonderful. And then you came to Cincinnati, and you had never really been to Cincinnati.
I've been here for
I did
a college weekend visit, right? Okay. So when I was figuring out, is this the school for me? And they sold me. And then when I came back for my interview, and that was it. So I came, and I got my apartment set up, and I didn't know anything or anyone.
Wow. Well, and then, so as I said, Zachary works at Congregation Beth Adam. I actually met Zachary the first time on Skype.
That's right.
Zachary plays guitar and sings and does music with our kids on Sunday mornings, and that was in part what I wanted to talk to him about. So I was interviewing him as a first-year student to see when he moved to Cincinnati if he could work here and fulfill the responsibilities that we had and the needs that we had. And so we met the first time on Skype. You had a cold, I believe?
I had a cold, yeah.
I do remember that. You weren't feeling too well. And Skype it made it worse, right? There's something about Skype that when you're talking to people online, it's like they're not feeling well. It just becomes exaggerated. And then Zachary's been here, both going to classes at the college and coming to Congregation Beth Adam, working on Sunday mornings with the entire religious school, so he goes from classroom to classroom. And then on Wednesdays, Zachary co-teaches the Bar Bat Mitzvah class with me and with Aya, and he does Hebrew and does some of the English classes as well as the philosophy classes. So your upbringing was what I would call mainstream reform?
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I grew up at Temple Emmanuel in Dallas. It's one of the largest Reform congregations in the country, and granted, we jumped around a bit. My religious practice definitely changed over the years and has molded and right. But yes, I would say that's a fair, mainly Reform Judaism.
So we talk about here Beth Adam, so we take a humanist perspective on Judaism, but the college trains rabbis of all stripes. So even though I went to the college, Zachary goes to the college, Aya is going to the college. I had friends who serve conservative pulpits. So it's not that everybody there has the same ideology. In fact, it makes it more interesting when there's sort of diverse conversations going on.
Certainly.
And then you got plopped into this place, place that was totally different than you've experienced before.
Right. No, it's been really, really wonderful for me to be working in a place that is not my theology. And we've had conversations about this before where I feel so enriched to be working and be thinking in this new manner in this congregation. So I feel very lucky to be working with you this year.
Well, thanks. Because one of the things that I think is important, and I said it, I lead services on occasion at the college. They invite local rabbis into the college. There's a chapel on the college campus, and to do services. And Zachary and I they've participated and helped me. And one of the things that I say to the students who are present is, even if they're not comfortable with what we're doing, that it's really important to know about it, because as you who join us online are part of our Jewish community, there's a lot of Jews, probably more Jews than people often think about, who are either unaffiliated or who don't find traditional liturgy meaningful anymore. And so the kind of experience we have really speaks to us. And one of the things that I try to encourage the students to do is to broaden their horizons, in the hope that they realize that there's a way to serve and to be responsive to a wider Jewish community than maybe they had known.
Sure.
And I know some of the students that when we do services aren't not all of them are so thrilled.
There's a apprehension for some.
Right. Conversations afterwards.
Yeah, but it's always rich. There's always. I think that you hit the head right there on the nail on the head. That it's about opening these conversations, right? It's about if as Reformed Jews, if we talk about ourselves as liberal Judaism and inclusive Judaism, this is Judaism, right? This is another mode, and we want to talk about it. So it opens. Granted, the worship service is not for everyone. I don't know if we would even call it that.
Right.
But those who do participate have very rich conversations about it afterwards, right, which is, I think, is the most important thing.
Good, because it really does. So when we do the service at the chapel, even the services we do, the words on the page, the liturgy, really serves as the fulcrum or the lens through which we sort of begin to think about Jewish identity. And so when I go to the college and I lead a service, and we lead a service like this, that uses new language, that doesn't presume a belief in God, and allows people with different beliefs in God to participate, and doesn't sort of constrain them by language. For some students, it's very difficult. That's their Judaism is really much more tied to liturgy, and they don't quite know what to do with it. It's a different experience, and then there's the other pieces. The melodies are different, the style's different, but it really begins to force them to think about, and I always ask them to think about, so what's the core piece of it? I think people come to the rabbinate for different reasons, but when one's job not oftentimes, but when you're a pulpit rabbi leading services, and whether it's a Shabbat service like we're doing now, or a high holidays, or doing a life cycle event, whether it's leading a bar bat mitzvah service or conducting a funeral or a wedding, the words become really important and matter, because they're really the ground upon which we stand. So, I'm really glad that you sort of took the dive in here and be participating. This semester, Bar Mitzvah class, I think is going to be most interesting. I sent you that updated curriculum.
Right, yeah.
This is the one where we really get into the nitty-gritty about different ways of being Jewish and what does it mean, whether it's religious Judaism or cultural Judaism, and then exploring the different movements, but also then really getting to this conversation about theology, about God, because it really becomes important to understand religious language. So I think it's going to be interesting, because those kids we have a pretty dynamic bar mitzvah group.
I'm blown away by the students here. That's the one I couldn't say enough about. The classroom environment, and just like profound thoughts from 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds. Like it's been wonderful working with them.
Oh, good. Yeah, I gave them those before you showed up to really impress you. I said, okay, Zachary's coming. Let's really impress this guy. We're going to give him some really good stuff. Sure. So when you say it, I go, man, I want to keep on working here. Because that's the exciting thing. I think, what's really nice and dynamic about having Aya here and Zachary here, the other thing that's good for us too, frankly, is that having students who are working and are thinking and are at different stages of their journey through HUC. Because going through HUC, my guess is being in Jerusalem has also challenged you religiously.
Sure. Yeah. Every day is a different set of.
I know a lot of the students, certainly the year I was there, You go to the Israel tends to, when I was there, was either very secular or very religious. There was very little in between.
Yeah, it seems strange, like in an area that has no black or white.
Right.
Everything's kind of up in the air. Religion is the one thing that you either are or you're not.
Right, and so a lot of people are sort of drawn. They struggled with, if I'm going to be a rabbi, should I be more traditional?
Yes. To an extent. So I wear a yarmulke, I wear a kippah, and it doesn't make sense in Israeli society or culture to wear a kippah, but then to be on my phone on Shabbat, right?
Right.
So I would be sitting, or I don't eat shellfish or pork, but I would go to a restaurant and just order appropriately, right? It's kashrut of keeping kosher style.
But not kosher,
right?
but kosher
So I'll be
style.
sitting in a cafe or something in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, and people would like come knock on the window, be like, "This place isn't kosher." I'm like, "Thank you." Like, I know. Like, would you like to talk about my theology with me?
Right.
So yeah, it was definitely different.
Right, because symbolically, in wearing a yarmulke in America, head covering, sort of you're wearing a small one. Somebody who's not Jewish is, he's Jewish, but they don't necessarily ascribe all the rules to you because they don't know all the rules. But in Israel, if they see you walking in on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, one is not supposed to be talking on the phone if one is traditional.
And to an extent where they might even say, okay, what kind of kippah is he wearing? They can almost plug you into who you're going to vote for based on what kind of kippah are you wearing?
I'm glad you said that. I remember I led a family tour about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And our guide, when we were driving near Mea Shearim, which is an ultra-Orthodox area, said, looking at the hats, the different head coverings, because it was getting close to Shabbat and people were moving from just small yarmulkes to hats, he said it's like looking at the feathers of birds. He said you can tell what group they are by their feathers, and he said the hats were very much the same thing. For those of us not in the community, it doesn't mean a lot, but if you know the community, whether they wear a sort of a strimal, which is these big fur hats that are big round or big tall, those different things mean that they're part of a different group, or a fedora and the size of the fedora, a small fedora versus the big fedora, or a knit yarmulke or a black yarmulke.
Sure.
Each one of these things, I forgot about that, really is symbolic. It's not just symbolic of being Jewish, it's symbolic of where in the Jewish world you stake your claim.
Right. For me, my kippah is an identity piece as well, of saying I am Jewish. Mm-hmm. But in Israel, it is both I'm religious, but also what kind of religious am I, right? What stream am I in? Right,
because in Israel, even without your yarmulke, you go, he's Jewish.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. They were going to go, but when you put the yarmulke on, you're adding a layer. In America, when I walk in somewhere dressed like this, they don't go, he's Jewish or he's a rabbi. When I walk into the hospital to make a pastoral visit, people don't do that. I think friends of mine, colleagues who wear a yarmulke, people go, must be the rabbi. He's got a head covering on, right? So it's going to be interesting. Did you wear a yarmulke before you went to Israel?
So I was talking a little bit about moving around in my religious practice growing up. It's been, I wouldn't call it experimental, but I wore it the majority of senior year onward.
In college?
In high school.
High school. Oh, so you wore it a lot.
But I also wear like a baseball. There's still certain places where I'm not really 100% comfortable, unfortunately, in our world today, wearing kippah just anywhere. So I'll wear a fedora or a baseball cap or something as well.
Okay, well that's great. That's interesting. So one last comment, then we move on with the service. So when I'm in Israel, I don't tend to wear a yarmulke anymore. I haven't worn a yarmulke since. So when I need to wear head covering, I carry a baseball cap with me. So when I go to Israel, if you go to the Western Wall, where you need to wear a yarmulke, you have to do that. You have to wear a head covering. So I I carry my baseball cap with me. And it's probably the only time you'll see me in a baseball cap. Occasionally around here, if it's really chilly, I'll throw one on. But that's interesting. So head coverings matter, just like the logo of your team can be there. It can be right.
Sure, yeah.
Do that. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you shared the service with us. I'm glad that those of you online got the chance to meet and be part of this growth. This is the excitement. This is the energy that exists here at Congregation Beth Adam and at our Jewish community. The sense of working with people and growing with with people and learning together. Our goal is to find our Jewish voice and to give voice to being part of this remarkable community. And having Zachary here as part of our congregation, enriching my life and our students' life is great. So I'm glad you're sharing this service. We're going to continue with our challah reading. If you want to do that, that would be perfect.
At this moment, we come together to welcome the Shabbat. We take pause, breathe in life, and reflect on the importance of each of our lives. We feel the touch of the Spirit on the body, the warmth of fellow human beings. We embrace our uniqueness and our diversity, our capacity to create, to explore, to change our world. In sharing the challah, the Sabbath bread, we nourish our spirit. We are connected with each other, with our ancestors, with the earth, the sky, and the whole of nature.
Baruch Hamal Kapenu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon Ha'adam, blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem Ha'aretz, blessed is the bread of the earth. And then if you have some wine or some juice, join with me. Stretch, sorry. There you go, here you go. Life is a wondrous gift. The mind observes with awe, and appreciation flows from the heart. Life's joyful bounties are unveiled. Such treasures abound in ordinary moments. A familiar face, the simplicity of a smile, tender kisses, the warmth and security of a hug, enchanting melodies, the grace of dance, the coolness of sculpted marble, a remarkable story, the complexities of atomic structure, thunder's reverberation, the shimmering of a rainbow, intoxicating rose petals. These moments become opportunities to affirm that which is good. As we lift the cup of wine or of juice, a tribute to life's enchantments, may we find joy and contentment in our human endeavors. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. So we say l'chaim, to life.
L'chaim.
Ooh, it's juice. It's a very sweet juice. It constricts my... Okay, enough about me. Okay, so as I said, this is a pre-recorded service. So the announcements are, check our Facebook page during the coming week so you'll know who's joining us and whether it's a memorial service. I know in this month of February, which I'm sure this is going to be, we're going to stream this service, the memorial service has been pushed back later because of some things that has come up that I just cannot be live on Friday nights for the first 2 weeks in February. So check our Facebook page. And we'll post when I would like you to send in memorial names that we'll include in our next service and who our guests are going to be. As always, also go to ourjewishcommunity.org, our website. Take a look what's going on. Check out my podcast. Also, if you like my podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you go to iTunes and give me a thumbs up, rate me, give me a star. My podcast, which is Bars Banter, fell out of iTunes for a little bit, and as a consequence, it's a little bit. It's not where it used to be in the ratings. Frankly, I'm talking about ratings, but I'll talk about ratings. And that way, the reason I want you to promote it is that more people know about what we're doing and maybe become participants. So check it out. Give us a star, 5 stars. Actually, is what I need. Write a comment and whatever. Check us out. Check us on Facebook. Always write me if you need to at rabbi@ourjewishcommunity.org. I am thrilled we're here. I'm thrilled that Zachary's here. I'm glad that technology allows us to pre-record and watch. And if I can, I'm going to be watching with you. So I'm going to close with the words that we close with each week. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. And may the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.